Hello everyone, welcome back to the final part in our beginner scripting series. Today we're going to be making a game. Hope you're excited about it, and I just realized it took me like half of a year to get through this 14-part series, but nonetheless we're here, and let's go ahead and get into it. So before we do, I just want to say that the winner of the poll was a sword PvP, so that's what we're going to be making, and you're going to notice there are like probably going to be 0 cuts in this video. If there are any, they won't be very many. The reason is because I want you to see not only the process of making a game, but also the process of debugging. So with all that said, let's go ahead and start. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go down to the description, and there will be a link that says sword, and then it'll have a link next to it. You're just going to click that, and you're going to click get. It's going to give you this sword model that we're going to be using. So once you've done that, we're going to finally use the toolbox for the first time in this series. So what you're going to do is you can go to home and just click toolbox. And right here, there's this little, like, library. That's exactly what it is. But it's, well, it's, there's this little library. So you can just click that. And you'll notice this little sword right here, if you got it. So that's the sword that we're going to be using. So you can click it. And it's going to tell you that it includes 2 scripts, which is fine because I know these scripts are safe, so go ahead and click OK. And next it's going to ask you if you want to put the tool into starter. Go ahead and click no. We haven't really done tools this series yet, so it's going to be a little bit interesting. That's why I'm including this model, because I don't want to like start tool scripting and all that. But just a couple basics. Inside of most tools, you're going to have a handle, and that's whatever the player holds on to. And tools are those things that you can like pick up and use. You'll notice in Roblox games, you'll have like a little backpack down here. So we can put a tool in this thing called starter pack down here. So let's just go ahead and do that for an example, actually. Let's go ahead and put it in starter pack. And when we play the game, we're going to notice that that tool has been put in our backpack, and the backpack is going to be on the bottom of the screen. You'll notice it from many other Roblox games. So let's go ahead and hit play. And once my character loads in, you'll see this little sword in the bottom. And I can click it, or I can click 1 to equip it and unequip it, and I can use it, right? So there's all that. But I do want to show you something called backpack, which we're going to talk about right now. We kind of just barely talked about it, but you'll notice inside of starter pack there's a sword. And this is very similar to starter GUI. And this right here, you'll notice if we delete this sword, the sword is still here for us, and it's very similar to starter GUI. Like we have a player GUI, we have our own backpack. So if we go into players and then find a username, drop it down, and we have, as we know, we have a player GUI, but we also have this backpack, and each player has their own backpack, just like each player has their own player GUI, and that holds each of their tools. So if you drop that down, you'll notice I have a sword in there. So that is kind of the basics of tools. Also, I would make sure you're doing this in a separate game, because I'm going to not edit our old projects. I'm not going to use the old place that we've been using. I'm going to use a brand new place for this, so feel free to do the same. Now, there's a couple things that we should do before we start. Obviously, you could just have a plain base plate like this, but that's kind of boring, and I think we all know that. So what we can do is we can go to the toolbox, and yes, I know we should avoid the toolbox, but because I'm not a builder, I'm a scripter, I'm going to go ahead and use a map. So we can just type PvP map. And once something, you can just kind of look through here and see if you like any of them. If you do, you can just click it and it'll drag it into your game. I'm going to go ahead and just use this grassy map right here. Now, really important, if it says, careful, this contains scripts, you're going to want to change that. Basically, you're just going to want to get rid of the scripts. So what you're going to do for that is you're just going to click your model and search script. And if you find any scripts inside of that model, just delete them, because you shouldn't need any scripts for a PvP map. But yeah, all that said, now I have this little map that looks pretty good, and I'm going to go ahead and click the spawn location. This is where the players spawn, and I'm going to go ahead and move it up and onto the map, like so. Now we have this right here, and what you can actually do if you want, you can get rid of this decal right here, and also make this spawn transparent. So that way the spawn is completely transparent and we don't know what we're doing, or we don't know where it is. We can also go ahead and get rid of the base plate, because now we have our map. And now we're going to want to start scripting this. But actually, sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself. Before we do that, we want to insert an invisible part above the map because we want people to kind of be able to spectate like that before that. So what we're going to do, we'll click part, and we'll go ahead and size this part up on all sides so that it covers the entire map. We don't want anyone to be able to walk off of this and into the map. So let's just go ahead and size this up real quick. And I apologize for how laggy it is. I don't know why it's been so laggy the last couple recordings. Hopefully you're understanding this all right. But now that we have it sized to fit the entire map, we can go ahead and anchor it. Make sure it's anchored right, and then we can make it completely transparent. Alright, so now we have that ceiling thing, but we're gonna want to go ahead and name it. So we can name this spectate part, I guess. There we go. And then what we now want to do is take that spawn location. I'm actually going to go ahead and make this spectate part transparent now, just so that we can see where to move the spawn. So we'll go ahead and click on the spawn again, and we're going to go ahead and drag it up on top of this spectate part. So they will spawn up here, hopefully somewhere in the middle. There we go. And then we can zoom out and kind of position it in the middle of this spectate part. And now we have the right spawn and all of that stuff, so now we can make this transparent again. And you're probably going to want to size this up even more so that it fits the entire map. Okay, that's fine. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start the scripting. So to start off, we're going to insert a script into server script service. And we're going to call this script round handling. And this is just going to handle everything for our round. So let's go ahead and rename it round handling. Oops, I accidentally deleted it. Let's go ahead and undo that. And we'll name it round handling. And let's go ahead and open up the script and start scripting. So we're first going to want to wrap everything inside of a while loop because we want this round to be continuing on and on and on forever. So as more people join, they can just hop into a new round, stuff like that. So what we can do is we can just say while wait do. And I believe we talked about it. If not, you can just leave wait. You don't have to have a number in there, and it'll literally just wait like a millisecond or something like that if you just leave that empty. Okay, so while wait do, so it's just going to wait, I believe every frame it's going to loop through. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to start a round. So let's add a little comment so we can, let's go ahead and start using comments more so that we can kind of get things a little more organized. So what we're going to do is we'll just say starting the round so that we know that's what we're doing at this part. And what we can say, we're going to first go ahead and get all the players. We'll say local players equals to game.players : get players. And I believe we talked about that. If not, it is just the same as using get children, except we just get a table of all the players. So now this variable called players is a table that stores every player that's currently in the game. So what we're going to want to do is loop through each one of those. And what we're going to do is but before we do that, we actually want to let them fall down because currently we have this invisible part that is going to stop them from going down. So we're going to want to make this spectate part can collide basically so that they can fall through it for a couple seconds, and that will allow them to, get up there or get down in the PvP map. So we can say at the beginning of the round when we start it, we'll just go ahead and wait 10. So there will be a 10-second intermission. And then we can say local spectate part, and we're going to want a variable for that, equals to workspace.spectate part. And next we can say spectate part can collide equals to false. So that's going to make it so that players can drop through it. And then we'll just wait 3 seconds and say spectate part can collide equals to true. So what this is going to do is it will, actually we could play it if we wanted to, but it's simply going to wait 10 seconds because of the intermission, and then after that 10 seconds is up, it's going to take the spectate part, and it's going to make it can collide, it's going to set can collide to false so that we can fall through it. So as you can see, we're standing for a little bit, and then after a 10-second intermission, we should drop right through and into the map. So let's just wait for this intermission to be done. So I made a little mistake. This spawn location, I was not falling through the map because this spawn location was the can collide was set to true. So we're going to want to have that false. That way, if they are standing on that spawn and it's time for the round to start, they're still going to fall through the map. So now we can go ahead and hit play. It should wait 10 seconds for the intermission. And now we should be able to fall through the map, or fall through the spectate part, sorry, and into the PvP map. So let's go ahead and test this again. I'm going to set the can collide to false, and for whatever reason, we're not falling through. Okay, what I'm going to try, I'm wondering if there's, like, already some invisible part that's stopping us. Maybe this map has a built-in little part. I honestly am not sure. But I'm going to go ahead to test that theory. I'm going to change the transparency to 1, and I'm just going to drag it down so that it's, like, half in the map. Oh, that's why. Sorry, that wasn't a problem with our code at all. There is something. It's called an invisible barrier. So that's why you want to be debugging, because a lot of models may include things like that. So there was already a barrier there. We just wanted our own barrier, our own spectate part. So now we can go ahead and try this. If you're having that problem, just start looking through the model and see if there is a part that is an invisible barrier like that. But now we can go ahead and hit play, and we should have a 10-second intermission and then fall through. By the way, I'll also link this map that I'm using without the invisible barrier. There we go, now it works. I'll link this map down in the description. This is not owned by me, I want to make that clear. Even though it's going to be uploaded by me, the map is not owned by me. It's just that it has no invisible barrier. So you can go down to the description and click map, and get that model and also drag it in. Okay, so now that we have all that, that took a little while to figure out what was going on, but now we know what happened, and let's go ahead and take this sword out of Starter Pack. And just like Starter GUI, Starter Pack, whenever a game starts, it basically clones everything inside of it and puts it in the backpack. So that's why we started with that sword in our backpack, but we don't really want to start with that. So you'll notice now that we have it inside of replicated storage. If you didn't do that, you can go and do that. It's no longer in our backpack. So this is working wonderfully. Let's go ahead and give everybody the sword now. So after we do this, now that we have the players, we can loop through all of them, and we could say for I, v in pairs players do. So for all of the players, we're just going to loop through all of these players, and we're going to give them the sword. So we can say local sword equals to game.replicated storage.sword, and then we're going to clone it because we want a separate sword for each player, so we can say clone. Now we have the sword variable, and we can just say sword.parent equals to v.backpack. Now, remember, v is the object, and in this case it's going to be a player because we're looping through each of the players, so we can just say v.backpack to reference the player's backpack. Next, what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to set up some sort of a condition that will be checked and a timer. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to have a countdown timer on the top of the screen. So let's insert a screen GUI into starter GUI, and we'll name this status. So this will cover all the status, well, it'll have all the status for the game. And let's go ahead and scroll down, and in size, set the size to 1, 0 for the first coordinate, and then 0, 50. So that should be the size, and that will automatically scale it to fit the top of the screen. Next, I'm going to change the background transparency to 1, and click text scaled. I'm also going to change the text color to be white. I just think it looks a little better. And then what we can do is we can add some stroke, and the way we'll do that is just by clicking the text label, we'll insert an object. And we haven't used this before because I'm not a UI person. I don't really teach it, but you can insert something called UI stroke, and you'll see it now has like an outline over the text. So now that we have that, let's name this text label to status text, and we're going to start scripting that. So let's go ahead and insert a remote event into replicated storage, and we'll call this update status. And we're going to start firing all clients to update that. So up at the top, what we're going to do is before the wait 10, we're going to let everybody know that it's intermission time. So we'll just say game.replicatedStorage.updateStatus, fire all clients. Remember that will fire the client for every single player in the game. And we can say, we'll just say intermission. And I'm actually going to change this. Hold on. Let's go ahead and get rid of this wait 10. And we'll just say wait 1. And the reason I'm going to do this, you'll see in just a second. Let's just go ahead and tab it to add a space. And we'll just say for I equals 1, 10, 1, do. And end. So this will loop through. And it will set... it will loop through, and it'll loop through until I is equal to 10. Remember these for loops where we can say I is equal to 1, we're going to increase by 1, and we're going to stop when it reaches 10. So the way we can use this is we can concatenate it. So we can say, remember this right here, this string is going to be one of our variables or our parameters that we pass to the remote event. So we'll say intermission space ... to concatenate. And then we'll say in parentheses, I, or 10 minus I. So this may seem pretty crazy, and actually, go ahead and add toString right here. So we should have fire all clients, intermission, ... toString, 10 minus I. So do not worry if this does not make sense to you. This is pretty advanced code right here. Basically, what we're saying is we're going to pass through, when we fire all clients, whoa, this is zooming in way too much. We're going to pass through, that is the intermission. This is basically the text that we're going to use. So we haven't talked about toString. What that does is it takes a number, so we can actually, I'll just explain it really fast. We can do toString, and we can do parentheses and put a number in here. And it'll turn that number into a string. So let's just say we had toString 3. It will change that to 3, like that, okay? So, there we go. Now, what this is going to do, we're going to pick this up on the client, and we can go ahead and use this right here to set that text. So let's go ahead and insert a local script into our status text, and we can call this local script update status. Now we can say game.replicatedStorage.updateStatus.onClientEvent connect function. And then remember we have a parameter, and that's the text that this should have. So we can just say script.parent.text equals to text. So we're setting this text label's text to whatever this variable is. And there we go. So let's go ahead and exit out of this local script. Now, let's go ahead and play this game, and what it should show in the top is a little status that counts down. Intermission is ... whatever, however many seconds there is left. So you can see intermission, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm not really a huge fan of this. I'm thinking I want to add kind of maybe parentheses around the number just to spice it up a bit, to add a little bit more to it. So let's just add this to the string intermission, and then what this is saying is we're going to have this open parenthesis, and then after that we're going to concatenate or add to the string whatever is left to the intermission, and then we'll say ... quotation marks again, and a close parenthesis. So hopefully this is making sense. And the reason I'm doing 10 minus I is because 10 is the amount of seconds that our intermission has, and I is however many seconds we've already waited. So if we've already waited 3 seconds, and we have a total of 10 seconds, what we do is 10 minus I, in this case it's 3, that means we have 7 seconds left. It's fairly simple math, but it may take a little bit of time to kind of grasp what's going on with that. But that's all that is. It's just a little bit of math to help add a little intermission text, I guess. So let's go ahead and play again, and you'll notice now we have this looking a bit nicer, and it's 3, 2, 1, and it starts the round by dropping us down. So next what I want to do is I want to give all the players the sword. Oh wait, we did do that, my bad. Next what we should do is start another for loop, and in this situation we're going to be looping till the end of the round. So it's going to be, I'm going to say a 60-second round. So what we'll say is for I equals 1, 60, 1, do. So we're starting another for loop. Again, we're going to keep looping until I is 60, and it's currently set to 1. And we'll just say we'll just update the status first things first, so we can just copy this line of code because we're going to use it again. We'll paste it there, and we'll just change this to say 60 minus I, and then round in progress instead of intermission. The reason I'm doing this is because the round is in progress, and instead of subtracting 60, because that's how long the intermission is, instead of taking 10 minus I, that's the intermission, we're taking 60 minus I because the round is 60 seconds long. So, let's go ahead and drop a line. So this will update still, because it's going to fire a remote event to the client. And then we'll want to make sure to add a wait 1, because that is how long it should take between each loop, which is a second. So let's go ahead and start checking some things. So what we're going to do, there are going to be 3 scenarios where we end the round. Scenario 1 is that the time has run up. It's been 60 seconds. Scenario 2 is we have 1 player left standing, and that is going to be, then we're going to give that player the winner. And then scenario 3 is that, well, not enough people, or too many people left the game that were in the round. So let's go ahead and script those. But to do that, what we're going to want to do, we could use a table. That's a possibility. But I'm thinking we're going to use a different kind of way of checking who's in the game. And that's by inserting a tag into their player. So that way we don't have to remove them from the table when they leave the game. It'll just automatically do that for us. So what we're going to do up here in our loop for the players, let's go ahead and add some comments real quick. We'll just comment, give players the sword. And then, let's see, drop down players. Okay, now we're going to give them a tag. So we can say local tag equals to instance dot new. So we're creating a new item. And in this case, you could do whatever you wanted. But I'm going to do a bool value because I use bool values for tags. Now, this is just an object that we're going to place inside of the character. And we'll call it in-game. That way we know if they are in-game or not. So we can say tag.parent equals to v, because remember, in this loop we are looping through all the players, so v is the current player that we're looping through. And then we can say tag.name equals to in-game. So something like that. Now all the players that are in the game will now have this tag, and that's going to be a bool value called in-game, which we can then we can look inside the player and see if we found that tag, and if we did, we know they are currently in the game. So just to show you, if we hit play and then we wait for the intermission to be done, so we have like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we'll just drop this down, and you'll notice inside of my player, once I'm given the sword, I'm also given this tag called in-game, which is this bool value. And as you can see, we have this round in progress, this countdown. So you can already see that the game is coming together a little bit, but there's still a lot to do, so let's go ahead and keep going. Now, we're going to want to do something with this in-game, and we're going to check all the players in the game. So what we're going to do for that is just go ahead and say we're going to start checking some conditions here. So first, let's find how many people are still in the game. So we can say local in-game players, players equals to 0, because right now we don't know how many are there. For now, we can just say for I, comma v in pairs, and then we'll just say game.players, get players. So we're going to loop again through all the players, and we're going to figure out who has the in-game tag. So we'll just say if v, which is the player, find first child, and we'll just say in-game with quotation marks. Sorry about the lag, this is really bad. So in-game, then we know that they are in the game. So we're just going to add 1 to this in-game players variable. So we'll just say in-game players plus equals 1. So now, outside of this loop, we will have all of the players that are currently in the game, because we're adding 1 to this variable every time we find a player that is in the game. So this variable now, after this for loop, will store how many players are in the game, which is really helpful for us because we can then check our conditions very easily by saying if in-game players equals 1, then... So if there's only one player left in the game, let's go ahead and add a comment, and we'll say one player is left. That player is the winner. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and do something with that in a second, where we're going to start over the round and give them a win in the leader stats. But for now, we want to also check the other conditions. Alright, and then let's go ahead and continue. So if there's one player in the game, we are going to do something with that in a second. Let's just go ahead and say else if in-game players equals 0 then. So if there are no players left in the game, which shouldn't happen, but that would just mean that a couple players left at the exact same time. So we'll also go ahead and end the round, no one in the match. And then we'll go ahead and just write break and break. And the reason I'm doing this is because we're going to break out of this for loop whenever a condition is met to end the round. So whenever it's time to end the round, we're breaking out of this for loop, and we're going to go ahead and continue outside of it. And that will be all the cleaning up and all that. So what we can say is down here outside of this if statement, so we don't want to use another else, because it's possible that the in-game players is 1 or 0, but also that the time was already up. So before we do that, we want to check to see if there is time left in the game. So if I equals 60, then because that's how long the round should be. If it goes over that, then we obviously know that something was wrong. But let's just go ahead and add a comment, and we'll say time is up. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to be able to fire the clients and update the players, letting them know that the time was up. So let's go ahead and first, before we do anything, let's go ahead and update the status. So we can say if I equals 60, we can say game.replicated storage to update status, fire all clients, and we'll add a string, and we'll say time has run out. And we're also going to want to break. So that will set the text to be the time has run out, restarting, dot, dot, dot. And if there is one player in the game, we want to find what that player is. So we'll just go ahead and loop through all the players one more time. Actually, first let's create a variable, and we'll say local winning player. We don't need to assign it yet. Let's just go ahead and copy this line of code up here, this for loop, because we want to use a lot of that again. So we're looping through all the players again, and if we find the in-game tag, then we know that they were the winner. So we can just say winning player equals to V, because that is the player that has the in-game tag still. So we can figure out what the winning player's name is, and we can fire the clients telling them which players won. So we can say game.replicated storage update status, fire all clients, with one player remains, comma space, and then we'll concatenate winning player dot name, and then we'll do dot dot has won. Remember to keep these spaces here, because when we concatenate, we're going to want those spaces, or else it's going to have no spaces, because we're just concatenating a name. So only one player remains, winning player's name has won. And then what we're going to want to do later is give them a win in the leader stats. But for now, let's see here, we're going to want to do this again. Let's just go ahead and copy this code so that we don't have to keep writing it. So we're going to update the status by firing all clients again, and we'll change this text to no players remain. Restarting dot 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 dot, or dot dot dot. Okay, so that will allow us to start. That just updates the status. Next, we're going to actually restart the round, and the way we're going to do that is we are going to set everyone back up at the top, above the spectate part, So we could load everyone's characters, but I'd rather not do that because it can get really laggy. What we're going to do is we'll wait 5 seconds. After this whole big for loop, we'll wait 5 seconds because we want a few seconds for everybody to see, oh, this player has won, okay, and read the status. And then we can go ahead and spawn everybody back up by saying for I, b in pairs, game.players, get players do. And we're going to loop through all the players again. And we'll just say v.character. Character. Actually, we want to check to see if they have a character. It's possible that they just died, and in that case, we don't want to do anything. So we'll just say if game.workspace find versus child v.name, then, whoops, not spotlight, then, so we're making sure that they even have their player still in the game. And if they do, we can say local character equals to, and let's just go ahead and copy this to save time. So now we have their character stored to a variable, and we'll say character dot humanoid root part dot position equals game.workspace dot spawn location dot position plus vector3 dot new 0, 3, 0. So this may seem like a lot, but all we're doing is we are putting spawning everybody's characters back up 3 studs above the spawn location. That's why we did the plus vector 3. So that's all we're doing. We're taking everybody's characters and we're spawning them 3 blocks above the spawn location. That way we don't spawn them in the floor. So now that we have that, we also want to check to see if the player still has a sword because we want to get rid of that if so. So we'll say if v.backpack find first child and then sword then. So if we found a sword in their backpack, and the reason I'm saying a string is because that's what our tool is called, then we'll just say v.backpack.sword destroy. So I forget if we talked about that. I honestly can't remember. But if you write destroy after an object, if you reference an object and write destroy, it will literally just delete it. Okay, so that's what that does. That gets rid of any swords if the players have them, and then it will start back over again. So the basics of the game are done, and we have this basic round handling system. But now let's go ahead and create some leader stats. And let's just go ahead and enter the script again. And we'll call this script leader stats. So we had a whole video talking about leader stats, but there are 2 values we're going to want to put in here. And we'll just say game.players.player added, not removing, player added, connect function, player. Now, we're going to want to create a folder called leader stats. So local leader stats equals to instance.new folder, and we'll say leader stats.name equals to leader stats, and leader stats.parent equals to the player. So we're going to set its parent to the player. Perfect. And then we'll drop a couple lines and we'll say local wins. We'll have 2 variables. Actually, first let's say kills. So local kills equals to instance.new, and that'll be an int value because it's going to be a number value, number of kills. So kills.name equals to kills, and kills.parent equals to leader stats. I think that should be good. We do want to set the kills.value to 0, so when they first spawn in, they don't have any kills. And we aren't going to be scripting that. I've already included that with our sword script thing. So if you should be able to find it somewhere. I forget where I put it, but basically whenever a player kills another player, it gives them a kill. So we're going to go ahead and use that, and we'll just go ahead and say local wins. Actually, let's just go ahead and copy and paste all this, because it's more efficient. So we can say wins, 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 and we can just replace all these with wins. Okay. So now we have this new wins int value that's called wins. Make sure to name it to wins. And then we also set it to the leader stats and set its value to 0. So that completes the leader stats. Make sure you're publishing your game every so often so that you don't accidentally lose all your progress. So what you're going to want to do is just click File and then click Publish to Roblox. There we go. And now we can go ahead and go back, whoops, not into our sword script. We're not going to be editing that. We're going to go into round handling. And next, we're going to give the player a win in the leader stats if they win. So if in-game players is equal to 1, then we know what the winning player is. And we'll just say winning player dot leader stats dot wins dot value plus equals 1. So we're going to give them 1 win whenever they win the game. So in here where we say if in-game players equals 1, all that stuff, down here after we find the winning player, we'll just say we'll set their leader stats wins value to 1. So that should be pretty straightforward, I hope. And let's see, that should be it for the leader stats and all that stuff. So that's the basics of the game. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording because I think that is actually it. I think we have finished the game. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to publish this, and I'm going to send a link to my Discord server, and I'm going to try and get some people to come in and play, and we'll give it a play test with a ton of people. And yeah, let's go ahead and give it a try. One more thing we need to do before that, and inside of a round handling script, we need to put this all in an if statement. So what we're going to do is just make sure that there are at least 2 people in the game before we start the round. So we'll just say if number of game.players get players is greater than or equal to 2. So if there are at least 2, then, and then we'll scroll all the way down here and put an end right there. Then just to make things neater, we'll go ahead and add a tab, so you can highlight everything inside of there and click tab. Now, all the way down here, right before the second end, we'll add an else. So if there are not 2 players in the game, we're going to want to make sure that we update the status. So this right here, the reason we can do this, I'm just going to explain this real quick. Whenever we say game.players get players, that returns a table of all the players. And when you have a table, you can actually write number of that table. Let's just say the table's name was that. And it will give you however many items are in that table. So in this case, it'll give us however many players are in the game. So if there are not at least 2 players, we'll just go ahead and update the status by saying game.replicatedStorage.update status : fire all clients with not enough players waiting for at least 2 to join. And then down here we'll just say wait. So that should actually be it. Now I'm going to go ahead and put up that announcement and get my Discord server here. All right, I made a big mistake here. This whole wait 5 to wait 1, all of this right here, copy that, delete it. Yes, trust me for a sec. We put this accidentally in this round. So it's doing that every single 5 seconds during the round. So what you want to do you want to paste that after this end, so it should be 1, 2, 1 end, 2 end, and then above the else. So right above this else, you want to have that code. Otherwise, it's going to start looping through again like that every 5 seconds of the actual round. All right, that was also another glitch. I've been testing here and there, and I realized we do need that wait 1 inside of that loop, so go ahead and put a wait 1 after this else if game.players equals 0, because otherwise you're going to realize it's not going by seconds, it's going by literally no time at all. So that round is just going to finish quickly instead of adding 1 to I every second, so in that case it'd be 60 seconds. Hope that makes sense. Alright, we have one final bug to fix, and that is it for the game. At the end of the round, we need to get rid of their in-game tag, or else the script's still going to think they're in the game next round. So what we're going to do is just say we'll say inside of this for loop where we're cleaning everything up, where we spawn the character and we get rid of their swords if they have them, we'll say if v colon find first child in game, then v colon find first child in game colon destroy. So we're going to get rid of that tag if we found it. So we're looping through all the players, and if we found their in-game tag, we're going to go ahead and destroy it at the end of the round. Oh, you thought you were done, didn't you? No, we just have a couple more things to fix really fast. Two things that one of my Discord members found. And first is that if the sword is equipped, you still keep it at the end of the round. So for that, the reason is because when an item or a tool is equipped, it's no longer in their backpack, but in their character. So we'll just say down here, right above the if v.backpack. So before we check if the backpack has a sword, we'll say if v.character, because this is a player. So if their character colon find first child sword, then v.character sword colon destroy. So yeah, the reason is because, like I said, if they have it equipped, we also want to get rid of it. So if the item or if the tool is already in their character, then we want to go ahead and get rid of that. Last thing is to make sure that we fully heal the player at the end of the round. So if they're like partially damaged and they won the game, they currently still keep that partial damage. So we just want to say v.character dot humanoid. So the humanoid stores the health. So we'll say .humanoid.health equals to 100. So this right here will have, well, first I guess we can say if v.character then. And the reason I'm saying that is because maybe they're dead, so their character hasn't loaded in yet. So in that case, let's go ahead and put this if statement down here. Actually, instead of v.character, let's do something even better. Let's say if game.workspace colon find first child v.name, then. So if we find a sword in their character, we're going to destroy it. And let's just first check to make sure their health is greater than 0. If v.character.humanoid.health is greater than 0, then. So make sure you have this block of code added in. This checks to see if their character's in the game. If it is, then we want to check to see if they have a sword currently equipped. If so, we're going to destroy it. And next, if they are partially damaged, that's why we check to see if their health is greater than 0, because we don't want to heal a dead person. So we check to see if their health is greater than 0. If so, we're going to set it to 100, just to make sure that everybody's health is fully reset for the next round. Now let's publish it. I'm going to get some footage of my Discord server playing, and we're going to watch that, see how it turned out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, so I'll see you then. So there is a little bit of a glitch if somebody joins right as the round is starting, but I'm not going to worry about that. You can fix that if you'd really like to. But for now, we're going to go ahead and playtest this game with these Discord members. And this is what we made together. So we've got Asterix right here who's completely like demolishing everyone. And I'm lagging also because I'm recording. But let's go ahead. No! Alright, so that is the game right there, and as you can see there's also a little bit of an error with this label up here. There are a couple things that could go differently, but obviously this is a beginner game, so this is going to be not as polished as a super advanced game would be. If you would like to, feel free to join my Discord server, discord.io/codebro29, and I can help you out with some of those glitches if you would really like to. But again, this was mainly just as a learning experience. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Shout out again to my 2 Patreons who are on the screen right now. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you guys. So, now let's just go ahead and finish this round. And can I take home the crown? Oh, there we go. Alright, so that is the game. And I hope you guys enjoyed this series. It was a long series, 14 parts, but I hope it was really valuable to you. If it was, I do hope that you would, or I do ask that you would subscribe if you are able to or want to, and leave a like, as this took a lot of time to record this series. So, but all that said, I hope it was helpful for you guys, and that it was just fun. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this series, and I'll have more videos coming soon. See you guys soon.